Hey guys, Sean here, and welcome to the F1 Word. So following another driver change since the end of last season, the second Red Bull seat is once again proving problematic for its latest incumbent, Yuki Tsunoda. But this isn't exactly a new problem and actually dates back much further than the end of 2024. Although the Formula One regulations and cars have changed drastically since Daniel Ricciardo waved goodbye to the team at the end of the 2018 season, every driver has struggled alongside Max Verstappen and the list keeps getting longer. Pierre replaced Daniel Ricciardo in 2019, and although not completely terrible, he clearly wasn't ready to make the step up and was ultimately swapped with Alex Albon mid-season. Albon himself did represent an improvement on Pierre and didn't do a bad job at all things considered, but much like Gasly, he probably made the move to the main team a little bit too early in his F1 career. He did last much longer than a Frenchman, getting half of 2019 and the whole of a shortened 2020 season before being dropped. Sergio Perez was in the end Albon's replacement, and of all the Red Bull second drivers post-Ricciardo, he undoubtedly had the most success. Checo played a key role in helping Verstappen to his first title, picked up plenty of podium finishes and even won 5 races in his time with the team. However, even a driver of his experience, a proven talent who had shown many times that he was able to take a car that was far from great to podium finishes, fell off at Red Bull and struggled massively before getting the chop at the end of last season. Liam Lawson, in a similar way to Gasly and Albon, was rushed through far too quickly as his replacement and was dropped after just 2 races in 2025, with Yuki Tsunoda, who frankly clearly should have been given a seat the moment Perez was shown the door, taking the seat from the Kiwi. And guess what? Oh yes, whilst it could be argued he might be a step up from Lawson, again, tough to say for sure given the sample size of just 2 races, one wet and chaotic and another at a track that Liam didn't really know, Tsunoda is also struggling to get to grips with that now infamous second Red Bull. Now, to call it a curse would do an injustice to what is a far more complex situation than that, and what is, to put it mildly, a difficult car to drive unless you have the speed, talent and driving style of Max Verstappen, which, let's face it, not many drivers, if any other drivers, seem to have. At Racing Bulls, though, rookie Isack Hadjar has been a surprising revelation so far this year and has been doing an excellent job at the sister team with the results to back up his apparent speed and consistent improvement. As a result, the inevitable question is once again being asked, is it time for Red Bull to make another driver swap, this time Tsunoda for Hadjar? Yes, those rumours are starting to do the rounds again, and in my opinion, no, they should not, at least not yet anyway, and here's why. There is no denying that, as already mentioned, with Tsunoda struggling and Hadjar thriving, it might be tempting for Red Bull to take a punt and see if the young Frenchman can be the one to finally make a difference as Max Verstappen's teammate. From the opening races of the 2025 campaign, Hadjar has scored at 5 races, including 3 in a row between Imola and Spain. All of his top 10 finishes coming since Suzuka, by the way. Hold on to that stat for just a moment. Of the races where he didn't score, he's yet to finish lower than 13th, and as we know very well by now, he crashed out on the formation lap at his first race, the season-opening Australian Grand Prix, a mistake he has yet to replicate and has clearly put behind him, which, by the way, shows great character. He could have easily let his head drop big time and struggle in the races that followed, but once he'd vented those emotions we saw at Albert Park, he picked his head up and bounced back pretty much straight away. Don't underestimate how tough that must be for a rookie, especially one who is part of the Red Bull family. And whilst we're on the subject of Australia, Fernando Alonso and Carlos Sainz both crashed out too, so it wasn't just the rookies who struggled, it was an easy mistake to make in those conditions. Anyway, back to the point. In contrast, since getting plucked and dropped into the Red Bull seat from the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka, Yuki Tsunoda has scored 3 times but has yet to finish any higher than 9th on a Sunday, although did grab 6th in the Miami Sprint if anyone cares. Back to that stat I asked you to hold on to. Tsunoda has 3 points finishes since Japan in a Red Bull, Hadjar has 5 for Racing Bulls. It has got to be said that the V-Carb is widely believed to be a much easier car to drive, but don't forget that Hadjar fared well against Tsunoda in their 2 races together and has the measure of Lawson too, so it's not all down to that. He's doing a really good job and fully deserves all the praise he is getting. The problem is, the better he does and the more Tsunoda struggles, the more likely it is that Red Bull will pull the trigger and swap them around. Or do you know what? Even drop Yuki altogether and promote Hadjar full stop. We already know how highly they rate Arvid Lindblad, so they have got options. It should also be said at this stage that Helmut Marko has already stated that Yuki is in for the rest of the season, but things can change, especially when it comes to Helmut Marko. But although I fully understand it isn't my call to make, I'm not that silly. I do not want to see Hadjar in that Red Bull this season. No, that is not because I hate him and never want to see him get an opportunity. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's because he's doing so well that I don't want him alongside Verstappen just yet. As we covered earlier in this video, the team has burned through a lot of young drivers already on their magical merry-go-round of misery. I don't know why I've called it that, but here we are. And that doesn't include the ones they were discarding seemingly at will in the years that preceded Ricciardo's exit. Gasly, too soon. Albon, too soon. Lawson, too soon. For me, it is so important that Helmut Marko, Christian Horner, and whoever else is involved in these calls learn from the mistakes of the past. Both Gasly and Albon have gone on to be very highly regarded drivers on the grid and are often linked with moves to the top teams. If drivers are given time and nurtured, I hate that word, in the right environment, they can turn it around and deliver. Hadjar is consistently improving and impressing, so why not just let him have the entire season at Racing Bulls to continue that development? He may well be the answer, he may well be yet another failure, but rushing him into that seat will only ensure it's the latter. He's a young driver in his rookie season and he needs to be given the time to keep learning his trade in F1 and to be able to do so in a far more comfortable and critically less intense environment. If he's given that time and keeps doing what he is doing, he will be all the better for it and Red Bull might finally have the answer to their second seat dilemma. I mean, look, short of cloning Max Verstappen, I doubt that anybody else currently available will be able to handle that seat, so why rush? The team isn't going to win the Constructors' title this season unless McLaren completely implodes, and even the Drivers' title is right now looking highly unlikely, although you never know with Verstappen. If anyone's going to spring a surprise, it'll be him. There is also this to consider. The general feeling among those who claim to be in the know is that with the Honda collaboration coming to an end once this season is over, Red Bull may well be looking to move Tsunoda on at the end of the year, so why not let him have the rest of the season to see if he can turn it around? After all, what have they got to lose? As I've already mentioned, the titles seem out of reach. Nobody else is likely to hop in that car and start getting within a couple of tenths of Max consistently, so if there is nothing to lose, they may as well stick with him. Okay, yeah, if the car comes good and Tsunoda still has his problems, you might argue there is actually everything to gain from a swap, but one, how likely is it the car improves given the impending switch to 2026 car development? And two, if recent history has taught us anything at Red Bull, it's that the swap won't make any real difference anyway. Give Yuki until the end of the year and see what happens. If he nails it, finds form and gets closer to Max and starts scoring points, he could be a good option to keep on board for next year. If he doesn't though, you are just letting a driver go who you were probably moving on anyway. That gives Hadjar the time he needs to develop and by extension doesn't force the team to rush Lindblad through either. Although, I'll say it before you scream it at me in the comments, Liam Lawson hasn't exactly got back on form since returning to the second team, has he? So that might be a conversation for another day. There is one other driver to consider in all of this, and that is Max Verstappen. No, I'm not suggesting he should be in a Racing Bulls car, but the team have put all of their eggs in his basket, which is completely understandable given his talent, but it means that whoever drives that second car is going to have to be somewhere near the level of a Verstappen, tough one, or have a very similar driving style, neither of which will be easy to achieve. But the actual reason I bring him up is that there are a lot of rumours of a Mercedes switch for next season or an Aston Martin move. Alpine have even been mentioned. And yeah, if you caught the Spanish Grand Prix watch-along, I even suggested he might take a year out to assess the lay of the land, i.e. which teams have got the 2026 regs right before choosing where to go next. Unlikely, but not totally impossible. The thing is, if he leaves at the end of 2025, and it is still a big if, I will concede that, then Red Bull are in big trouble. Sure, they could chase a Norris or a Piastri, a Leclerc or a Russell, but with the guy they've banked on for so long gone, they will need to turn to their own driver pool for at least one seat. So with the risk that Max might go, giving Tsunoda every opportunity to turn it around and leaving Hadjar where he is to again keep developing is surely the right thing to do. They might need one or both of them in the near future, and so it would be a huge risk to potentially burn through them too quickly, or more specifically in Tsunoda's case, write him off entirely at this stage. So there we have it. That's my waffly case for Red Bull not making another mid-season driver change this year. But of course, there were probably plenty of people saying similar for other drivers who have been burned through too. Whilst I can give my opinion and you can absolutely give yours, here is some epic analysis for you. The only ones who can make the call are the folks at the top of Red Bull. You are very welcome. And whilst they have made some very good driver calls in the past, they can and in recent years have got those calls very wrong. Oh, if only there was a highly experienced, multiple pole-sitting, race-winning, podium-finishing, point-scoring driver that just so happened to be available at the end of last season. What a shame there wasn't, eh? Jokes aside, given the array of drivers and driving styles that have struggled in that car, who's to say Carlos Sainz wouldn't have been the latest in a growing list to fail? We'll never know though, of course. That is it for this one then, but those were just a few of my thoughts. What do you guys think? Do you agree with me that Red Bull should give Hadjar the full season in the junior team, or do you believe he is worth a punt given Tsunoda's struggles? You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now, I will be back soon with some more content as always, but in the meantime, if you did enjoy this one, then please do leave a like as it really helps the channel battle that pesky YouTube algorithm, and consider subscribing too so you don't miss any future videos or streams. Oh, it's been a while since I've had a good waffle. I enjoyed that one. But anyway, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.